Welcome back to Tribe Talks with ArcherPoint Retail. Today, our retail experts, Kayla Magnan and Thomas Nielsen, are covering the impact of COVID-19 on the evolution of retail and what we can learn from it. Let's go ahead and get started. Kayla, over to you.
Thanks, Suzanne. Hi again, everyone. These past few months have definitely challenged us in ways we never thought we'd have to think creatively in, at least just yet. And while these times have tested our community bonds and our friendship connections, it also has opened up new doors and directions for channels like industries we see today with retail and hospitality. Though we have faced some challenges, they have deepened our strength and sharpened our resilience. And as we continue to learn and grow from these obstacles, we're really eager to begin discussing these past few months in the eyes of our retailers. And with me again, Thomas, I know you not only have heard of these stories over the past months, but have even lived through some with your hands-on assistance and support. And as we all heard and experienced, it hit the fan quickly with everyone right around the same time. But is it still wild and crazy out there? I can definitely see it being still scramble mode for many of those retailers struggling in the beginning, and that they're barely keeping their head above water now. But maybe I'm wrong, and maybe we're seeing downtime to reflect on these past months and can even make some long-term actions now. Could you give us a highlight into what you're currently experiencing with these clients?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. This week I'm reporting from Copenhagen, where I'm visiting family, friends, and a few customers. Kayla and Suzanne, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate participating in these Tribe Talks. And Kayla, you are correct that all of it happened around the same time for everyone, and it happened so fast. Many retailers, even our retail clients, didn't even have the time to think before they had to react. Consumers were becoming frantic for essentials, and businesses were being forced to shut down their doors. And in some areas, they are still shut down. And what we're seeing in any of our news outlet these days is some of them are reshutting their doors. And for those retailers who were not ready with e-commerce, or who were not optimized with inventory and warehousing, or who couldn't offer new services like curbside or extract meaningful reporting data, I think it's fair to say that they were hit harder in some aspects, as many are still facing those struggles that we saw from the beginning of the pandemic. And some of them were little to no staff, little to no foot traffic, or just limited ability to sell merchandise due to the lack of the technology where they could assist with new services or delivery a smooth, unified experience. And we have mentioned in all our webinars, Kayla, that how important the customer experience is. And now one could say it's critical. Reports showing customers want communications on brands' decisions and why. Why are you open? How are you treating your employees? How will I be safe visiting one of your stores, and so on. Other reports showing consumers are switching brands due to item availability, the ease of the e-commerce system, or brands in communication and safety. I and many other IT resources cannot stress enough how having the proper investment in modern technology is key for any retailer to be able to easily pivot, shift, adapt, and simply make it through any crisis.
Now, I love that, Thomas. A proper investment in modern technology is key. And just to expand on that with something, again, we've highlighted in each webinar, but it definitely applies here too. Start small. Don't think you have to upgrade or update or enhance all of those business technologies at once or at the same time. Just take it one step at a time. Take it by a department or a business area to start. And Thomas, I know you can probably comment more on that from your experience, because I'm going to shift over and ask you if you saw anything from this pandemic that should be a key area for our retailers to focus on. I'm thinking with all this chaos going on, it may be overwhelming for a retailer to identify what's most vital in those next steps. I mean, right away it was put in place health and safety measures, which had concerns on interactions and levels of service. But then as the lockdowns approached, we're questioning, where's our revenue generating from? What do we focus on? And if we need to address all of the above, how do we do that? I know you can give us some guidance on this with your experiences and what you've seen. What do you think?
Yeah, for sure, Kayla. Let me start out by commenting on your start small approach. I agree, especially during these sensitive business times. We at ArcherPoint will recommend a phased approach to your enhancement, updates, or any improvements. Many of our retail clients have taken this successful approach for decades. not just due to this pandemic. That is because there is less disruption to your business, staff, and operations. You can remain open for business. There is a better visibility into management of the entire project to oversee costs, foreseeable obstacles, and so on. And just with any other business decision, I would definitely encourage team participation in these type of exercises. Identify some key resources needed to fulfill what needs to be accomplished right now, right away. For our COVID example, we had retailers form a COVID task force teams to manage crisis immediately, keep track of the new released and updated information from local and federal health organizations. And I would say for any retailer, focus on leveraging the opportunity at hand. No matter what's at hand is something to keep top of mind. We can use this recent pandemic experience or any global crisis to outline four primary focus areas to help identify short-term, mid-term, and long-term objectives and actions. And as you can see here on the screen, we have put together an overview of these points to make it easier to outline these opportunities. So first, we see here supply chain. As I mentioned, retailers who are not inventory and warehouse optimized are struggling more than ever. So focus number one, supply chain management. Mitigate supply chain risk, review assortments and categories, make things easy to find and categorize in relatable groups for search engine optimization. Or do you have anything perishable? Should you consider canceling seasonal or limited items you normally would order this time of year? Maybe consider adding temporary or new items like what's high in demand currently. For example, with COVID, we saw retailers reaching out to their vendors who were still able to produce and deliver and see if they could provide masks, gloves, and cleaning supplies. But we also saw other retailers getting creative and taking advantage of people being at home, being in front of phones and computers, and were preparing to stay at home for at least 2 weeks. Those retailers then provided new entertainment products like small games and gifts to even small countertop appliances like a popcorn machine.
And supply chain is a great focus to leverage this opportunity at hand. I even saw a couple reports that had listed those top 3 trending consumer categories. And since March and April, we can pretty well guess those were care products, food and entertainment, which was everything from cleaning products to shelf-stable foods to streaming services and DIY crafts. But reflecting on our retail clients, for instance, I remember hearing a shortage or complete out of stock marking on items that would normally qualify as dead stock, which isn't always a bad thing to experience as a retailer. But Thomas, outside of leveraging what's in your physical inventory, many retailer vendors were also shut down, being classified non-essential, or simply because the borders and hubs were restricting access. That's going to result in delayed deliveries or not received at all. That's definitely going to impact supply chain. So how do retailers combat these things that are outside of their control during these times?
Yeah, Kayla, that's a great question. And I would say there's a midterm to a long-term action for this focus. While mitigating your supply chain risk by assessing and adjusting your current and accessible inventory is definitely a short-term focus. And accessible by not just what's on hand, but what can your current vendors or your vendors that you have access to provide you. And then receiving those goods or merchandise consistently could be the next layer of focus for this area. The midterm action should be broaden your supplier base. Are your vendors only in one country? Can you delve into regional vendors or even local suppliers? And then maybe the long-term goal should be have an end-to-end supply chain.
Okay, great. So in each of these 4 primary focus areas, we could have a short-term, mid-term, long-term goal or accompanying action.
Correct. So then right on to the next, which surrounds us with what we heavily experience in March, April, May, and still somewhat today, a surge in the online presence. So that's focus number 2. And by the way, let me just clarify here, it's not in any particular order. It's just 4 focus areas that we have learned from this pandemic. One we have mentioned is the supply chain management. Now number 2, boost the e-commerce channel, or start one if you don't have one. We at ArcherPoint recommend that you begin with a review of the internal processes. How does the process of in-store fulfillment from online orders flow? Is there a bottleneck area? Is this customer focused, centric? Get feedback from the staff, or even survey the customer for feedback and challenges that are posed to them. And Kayla, I want all our retailers on this webinar to never forget that the online channel is also an opportunity to obtain customer information, even without a transaction or sale. For example, intrigue them with an interesting article to sign up for your newsletter. Get more tips and tricks or expert advice, or maybe generate a pop-up that will provide them with a coupon for their email sign up, or simply by following your social media channels.
Oh yes, Thomas, you know me, I'm all about leveraging social media and integrating that with customer experience. Just as you mentioned, provide the customers how-to videos or even expert advice articles. I know just with my personal experience, before making almost any purchase, I will heavily research an item, looking for those videos, articles, or even consumer reviews to help me evaluate if it's easy to assemble, adequate size, just received as expected. And naturally, those people and brands that I follow on Instagram, YouTube, or whichever social platform, those channels end up influencing my purchase decisions. And you're definitely right on the e-commerce surge. Basically, across the board, saw an intense spike in online platform usage. I saw reports that Walmart saw a 190% increase in their online application, but even more local grocery stores like Albertsons reported a 243% increase in their e-commerce channel between March and April. As we all can expect, just in general, grocery shopping had almost half of consumers reporting opting for those online and delivery options at the end of March, which only 11% reported doing just 3 weeks before at the end of February. So as we continue through this eccentric journey, we're still seeing a push for online and delivery as we shop as consumers, but also as we see from our retail clients, they too are promoting free shipping and other perks to encourage these types of orders.
Exactly, Kayla. And I can report that some of our retailers are also reporting these huge jumps in online sales, 10 to 12 times the normal volume during March and April. And some are reporting up 80% in e-commerce in May. And many are still currently performing to double the volume compared to last year. And I would like to point out here, Kayla, that many of our retail client reports that they are flat compared to the same period last year, which in today's terms will seem great, or they're doing very well. Or they could actually look to be back to normal in Q4. It's these retailers that had already an investment in modern technologies or were already on the path to unified commerce, meaning bringing together all the systems and processes seamlessly for your customers to quickly and easily buy your products and know what action your company is taking. Which brings me to the third focus, which is on the organizational stability. How flexible is your labor force? And here, learning from our customers and some of our retailers, they have shifted their staff to other crucial business areas instead of laying people off or furloughing. So whether you had an e-commerce channel already and in-store processes for those online orders, or if you just started with an e-commerce site, you would need even more staff to keep up with the demand for this channel now. So take staff that would be servicing in-store customers and use them for better streamlining, or add them to more capable bodies and receiving and picking orders. Or maybe you added a call center and you need more reps on the phone. Or you have heavy replenishment activities. There are many continued uses for staff. A big one we saw with our retailers was reutilizing staff for dedicated scheduled cleaning. And that could actually be before store opening hours, during opening hours, and after closing. And again, that will be more for short-term focus, which could actually transition to a mid and long-term focuses, such as realign staff and management or transform the structure, especially since these are processes and services your business is going to keep offering.
And let's not forget, as mentioned in the beginning, the consumers want to know how you're treating and keeping employees safe. Even siding consumers will switch brands based on these decisions because these details can shift or commit those consumers to your brand. So from the pandemic, an easy way for a retailer to show and communicate they're keeping their employee safety top of mind is simply providing the staff the option to transfer to another department or to consider the layoff. This not only helps communicate safety to those staff who are themselves at risk or living with people high at risk, But there's an internal bonus. This option also provides for easy management and continued utilization of any funds or loans that were applied for and received during this time. And Thomas, not to take us off your 4 focuses, but let me ask you something, because I think this is really important or almost vital during times of unpredictability. Do you think retailers should be more closely monitoring their KPIs, or would even gain more value from adding other metrics to their dashboards during this time?
For sure, Kayla, and I really appreciate this question actually. And this is actually right in line with the fourth focus here: prepare for questionable tomorrows. So I couldn't agree more. Having a close eye on the indicators that drive your business performance and adding a few extra insights is crucial to being able to quickly pivot and adapt to trends and patterns. As we see here, short term is implementing new processes, and that is depending on where you are in your retail technology journey. So starting up an online shop, enhancing the processes of popular services, or what we now expect, well, now tend to be expected services like online ordering, curbside pickup and delivery. Make sure you're implementing these processes that limits expenditures and help you control cost. And do this with a long-term objective and incorporate business intelligent reporting tools, also known as BI, to help further strategize historical and predictive views of business operations.
Yeah, and we know many systems do have standard general reports, but I believe that it's when you use these reporting tools like Microsoft's Power BI, where these applications easily allow for metrics to be digested in charts and graphs or however you choose to view the data. And with a few simple clicks, it's filtering and layering the report to visualize specific data to analyze instantaneously for an immediate action. This BI reporting can highlight various trends within your stores, your vendors, your customers. You can also review on specific items or item categories. Literally, whatever data you have in your system, you can use business intelligence reporting to act quickly. Even in some cases, predict upcoming KPIs based off historical data and using AI, artificial intelligence, to analyze those trends and predict that upcoming demand. And if I could kind of sum things up here, Thomas, these 4 focuses, I think, could go beyond this current crisis and could even consider these 4 pillars to use during any business disruption planning. If we just glance back at the trends we saw from this pandemic, starting with probably most notably an intense shift to online and digital, which then impacted supply chain, e-commerce sales, marketing efforts even. At the same time, we were posed with close interaction, health and safety, which led to curbside delivery, interactive kiosks, self-checkouts, contactless payments. These are all now must-have options for retailers. And then they have to prepare for those questionable tomorrows with these new options and requested services. And they can do that by showing the agile labor force. And again, by starting with these 4, what I would call pillars to consider when planning through a crisis, these can help you strategically withstand the impact of retail evolution. And I'm going to take a quick pause here and send it over to Suzanne for some questions that have come in. Or as always, we do love to hear your experiences too. So feel free to raise your hand with your GoToWebinar Council and we'll unmute you to share your journey.
Thank you both so much. This is Suzanne, and again, you can access your GoToWebinar console by clicking the orange arrow to expand that. Scroll down to questions and type that there, or just click the raise your hand option under your orange arrow. We did have a couple of questions come in. The first one is, with social distancing and limitations on occupancy, how can we better serve customers who are waiting in lines or waiting to enter our store?
Well, I'd say that's probably definitely something we've all experienced a lot recently. And I think we first should identify the specific areas in your business that are forming lengthy lines and how to address that specifically. These things are going to vary greatly depending on industry. If you're a fashion retailer, you wouldn't have the same type of lines that the restaurant next door is going to be forming. But retailers can still consider a lot of creative ways to still service the customer and reduce some of the aggregation that comes with waiting in long lines. I just experienced from pre-COVID that we could use it as an example with entertainment in the line. Amusement parks, they're known for having, very long lines at their newest attractions. But to combat this, the park has set up TVs in various places with programs to help ease that wait in line. But now we have mobile devices, QR codes, and other free applications where retailers can get really creative to provide many forms of entertainment during the waiting in lines. But also consider maybe some alternatives if you're looking at it from an item perspective, not just people standing in line. Think of like items like out of stock or low in stock, and you could provide some alternatives to that. But also keep in mind expectations. I think, consumers greatly appreciate that. If you know there's going to be a long wait or delay, just inform your customers of those. My local grocery store has an online portal that displays traffic and a wait timer. So you can see the stores with the highest traffic and how long the wait would be if there is a line. But you could also do a virtual queue instead of a portal with this traffic information. The virtual queue could have them log in and wait for a notification so they can be waiting in their car or even wait at their house. I went to the dentist last week and I had the similar experience. I had to wait in my car until they gave me a call and then I could come to the door. And I've heard of similar experiences with the DMV where there's actually an online queuing system and you'll get a call when it's your turn to head up to the DMV. Lots of different creative ways that you can eliminate those lines to enter.
I can also just add here that one thing to think about could also be to add appointment or scheduling based or an appointment to the online or to the application or to your technology. So like we see in restaurants, we can book a table. You could add that as well to the retail. Within LS Central, we have the ability just to utilize that at the hospitality side, but as well as using that at the retail side. So it could be that we could schedule to go and shop at 10 o'clock on Monday morning. It doesn't have to be either or, but it's something we can add to the mix.
Yeah, great ideas there. Our next question is, what key metrics should I focus on in this current environment?
Okay, Kayla, I would like to take that one again. It's a very good question, and we get that a lot when we're on site. When I'm visiting clients, we get this question: what should I be focusing on? And I typically say, no matter what role you have in the organization, you will have limited time or no time to reviewing all the metrics that your organization is collecting on a daily basis. So it's important that you're focusing on a few metrics that you can act on. So obviously it will be different metrics if you're the CEO, CFO, or if you're a manager or department manager. But it's important to have these key metrics to focus on them and even have dashboards to see the trends. So a question I also get is, well, what reports should I use? Can I get every single report that NAV has? I would like, or LS Central, can I have that in Power BI? The answer is really yes and no, but there's no need for it. The follow-up question will be, but what if I forget something? What if I miss something? And what I typically say to our customers is, imagine that you're on an island and I'm coming out on a daily basis with 2 to 3 sheets of paper. And these 2 to 3 sheets of paper should have enough data for you to get an understanding of how the business is running or what adjustments you need to tell me to go back to the mainland and make those adjustments. Then come back the next day with the same reports or the similar reports for you to manage the report standing removed. Now, that is obviously different metrics if it's a CEO, CFO, or if it's a department manager. But really drill down and focus, what data do I need to see to manage my responsibility, my focus area? And one thing we also seem to forget is the external factors. Weather has a big impact on retail and hospitality. So why don't we collect that and see that as well? What happened when the weather is bad, or what happened when the weather is good? What predictions do we have? Do we sell more? Do we sell less? Competition, how are they doing? Why not collect some data around you? And the same thing with events, football games, music concert, all kinds of events could have an impact on your business. So please don't forget those as well.
Excellent, thank you both. We don't have any more questions at this time. So with that, I'd like to thank you both for your insight. I'd like to invite everybody to our next webinar, Tribe Talk Retail on July 30th, where we'll take a look at LS e-commerce and how it can be a key component of your retail strategy. I'll throw the link to that in our chat pane. It's also on the screen. And again, thank you so much for your time today. We appreciate you joining us and we appreciate your questions as well.
Thanks for watching this ArcherPoint video. If you found it helpful, make sure to check out our website and blog at www.archerpoint.com. Additionally, if you have any questions regarding our products, services, or information in this video, feel free to email us at info@archerpoint.com. Thanks.